Getting so good. Got it. Okay. So today we are learning Perik Yud test. Please go. It's going to say before we even start, it's my Baba's Yotzat today, my Baba Chana. Her Neshama should have an Aliyah, and my father and his sisters should have Arichas Yamim, Shanim Tovos. Okay, so this capital you recognize because it's in our Shabbos morning. It's in our Shabbos morning davening, and basically this is the capital. It's actually I was looking for a happy one, and that's what inspired me. One of the girls in Matric said to me that she's just started saying, Perik Yud Tessa, one day would I prepare it and teach it to her. So when she says Tehillim, she knows what she's saying. And so I decided that since she said that to me on Tuesday, this was a altogether good one to do today. So the interesting part of this capital of Tehillim is it's showing us two different ways to connect with Hashem. It's showing us how to connect with Hashem via nature, and also reminding us how to connect with Hashem via the Torah. So let's have a look. Let's go straight and have a look at it. Begins Lamnatzech Mizmor LeDavid. It's a capital that's composed by David himself, and it was one that was repeated in the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore instructions to the conductor, the menatzeach, the conductor of the music in the Beis HaMikdash. And he begins the famous words, Hashamayim mesaprim kavod kel, the heavens proclaim the glory of Hashem, U'ma'aseh yadav magid harakia, and the skies tell about the work of his hands. So simply making an announcement that we can just look at nature and we can see Hashem and see the greatness of Hashem. And he begins with saying that which part of nature should we look at and get inspired by is the sky. Hashamayim mesaprim kavod kel. It's the sky that tells us the stories, the honor, the glory of Hashem. And as I've said many times before, that our job is to look around at the world, at the very physical world, the way Hashem created the world, and to see godliness in it. But here it's saying even one step more than just seeing godliness, but here it's telling us, see the greatness, connect to Hashem via the greatness of his world. So you just have to look at the sky, and you can't help seeing that there's something bigger, that there's something greater. So it uses two different words for tell in this pasuk. It uses the word mesaprim, which we've translated now as proclaim, and it also uses the word magid, which we've translated as declare. But these are similar words to say tell. Okay, so looking at the heaven tells about Hashem, looking at the skies tells us about Hashem. What is the difference between these two words? So we told that the word mesaprim, from the word sipur, stories. So this is talking about old stories, and magid is talking about telling new things, telling about new things that happen. So how can we see the greatness of Hashem? Both by telling old stories, in other words, recounting how Hashem created the world, knowing that Hashem, like the miracles of the creation of the world and how he made it work and how it continues to work for all this time. That's mesaprim. It's an old story, but we can still get huge amounts of emunah and understanding of Hashem through that. And then there's also the new, magid, tell. And what's the new? So again, at a simple level, the new is talking about what goes on every single day in the sky. So the sun shines and there's precipitation and new clouds come and then they burst and there's rainfall and sometimes it's a storm and sometimes it's a drizzle. This is magid. This is what we have to look at, the things that happen in the sky that are the new things that are happening. And that also has to make us realize about the greatness and the power of Hashem. And our job is to look at both, to look at the old, to look at the new, and through both things, see the greatness of Hashem. And David continues explaining to us what we should be looking at in the world. And he says, Yom le'yom yabiya omer. Every single day We have to look to, or they praise Hashem. V'layla l'layla yechaveh da'as. And every night we get more knowledge of Hashem. So at a simple level, yom yom, day to day, and laila laila, night to night, is talking about the consistency, consistentness, I think is the right word. That every single day, for all these years since the beginning of creation, for over 5,000 something years now, every day the same thing happens. The sun comes up over there, and it goes down over there, and then it comes up over here, and it goes down over there. It's absolutely, completely consistent. It does the same thing, yom yom, day after day after day, and laila laila, and night after night after night. It keeps on doing it. The Baal Shem Tov says there's something deeper than that. The Baal Shem Tov says, what more are we getting from these words? Yom yom yabia aimer, says the Baal Shem Tov, that every day gives over the news to the next day. Yom, one day, tells the next day, leyom. And what does it tell the next day? It tells the next day what happened on it. And particularly, says the Baal Shem Tov, that when we do something good, when something great happens on a day, that day is happy, yabiya aimer. It tells praise to the next day about what happened on it, how it had a good day. Another deeper understanding of this pasuk, it says that Yabiya Omer alludes to the Torah Shebichtav, the written Torah, and Yechave Da'as, getting a knowledge, a Da'as, a deeper knowledge, that alludes to Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, or the more hidden esoteric things that there are in the Torah. And so it says, in order to understand the greatness of Hashem, we actually have to look at both. We have to understand the written Torah and follow the laws in the written Torah. We have to inspire and motivate ourselves with the da'as, with a deeper knowledge of Hashem through the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Just an interesting side fact on this, it says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven for 40 days, so he did not know what was actually happening on earth. He didn't know, there was no timeline like we have in the world. So how did Moshe know when it was morning and when it was night? So the Medrash tells us that during the daytime hours, Hashem learnt with him or taught him only Torah Shebichtav, the written Torah, and during nighttime hours, Hashem taught him the oral Torah, the Torah Sheba'al Peh. And that's how Moshe knew when was daytime and when was nighttime. And it's interesting that there are many people who even paskin like that at night they don't learn Torah Shebichtav, they don't learn written Torah, only oral Torah. So you will find there are those people who don't say psukim at night, don't learn like chumash at night, but only oral Torah at nighttime and written Torah in the daytime. A fourth lesson that we get from this pasuk, so Chazal tell us that actually in the Torah there's a mitzvah to study Torah every day. Now, not everybody can spend all day learning Torah. Some people have the merit and the zitzveish to spend all day sitting and learning Torah, and some people can't. And especially women. Sorry, no supper tonight. I was learning Torah, or didn't pick up your kids from school today because you were learning Torah. That's not going to go down very well. So it's like if a person has yom liyom, it's day by day yabia omer, that he can sit and learn Torah. Great, but if he can't, then laila yechavedas. He can still get knowledge. He can still study. He can still get something from learning at night time, even though the actual mitzvah that we're given, the commandment that we're given, is to study in the day. Continues David HaMelech, and he says, Ein omer ve'ein devarim b'li nishma kolim. There's no words, there's nothing to say, and there's no real voice heard. So this is referring back to getting inspiration from the sky. You look at the sky, and the sky is not talking to us, It's not saying words. It's not giving us a story. There's not even sound that's it. But what is it? It's just looking at the sky that makes us realize the greatness of Hashem. And so Chazal tell us sometimes the biggest things we learn are from silence. That the lesson we have to learn from the sky is that you can motivate, you can inspire, you can teach lessons by being quiet. And so often we say things that spoil the greatness, because silence would have left it at something that's so much greater. And you know how it is. Um, one of the things that I like always try and tell when I learn with brides, the bedekening, when chassan comes in to cover the bride, it's such a powerful moment. Now imagine if at that moment the chassan had like made up a song or done something like that, that he considered to be very romantic, and he comes in front of everybody there in that intense moment. He has a band playing music and he sings a song to the bride. Would we respond to that by saying, "Oh, beautiful! That's so nice," or would we say, "Now, such a holy time. What's he doing? Okay, what is happening?" There is a time for saying what you want to say. There's a time for commenting, and there's a bigger time for being quiet. And that's what the lesson of the sky is. You can get so much inspiration, you get so much motivation from the sky, and the sky is quiet. It doesn't say anything. And also on the more, if we could say, negative side of it, sometimes we try and say things that are just completely inappropriate. I've so many times been in shiva houses where people, in effort to say something because they're not happy with the silence, they say the most stupid things, okay, and they mean good. Okay, it comes from deep inside their heart, and they want to say something nice to the people. There's nothing really nice they could say at that moment. The only thing is to be quiet, okay, to be quiet, and let the people know that they care, that's all. And so often people mess that up. Teaches us David Hamelach, there's no words necessary, there's no speeches necessary, there's not even sound necessary. Sometimes the biggest impact we can make on someone else is by being quiet, and that's what they need from us, to just be quiet. So that's the one idea of the greatness of the sky, or the learning from the sky. Also, the quietness of the sky, say Chazal, teaches us that when we see great things, sometimes it makes us speechless. When you see something that's really great, sometimes we don't even have the words to express what we are seeing. And that's how it should be when we see the sky. When we see the sky and we try and feel, what is it that I'm feeling now? Who is this Hashem? Be quiet. Don't try and put it into words. Just appreciate the greatness of it, the bigness of it, and just go with it quietly. And David explains the greatness or some of the greatnesses of the sky. He says, "B'chol haaretz yatsa kavam." Over the whole earth, their path goes. Uviktsei sevel mileihem, and their message gets to the ends of the earth. Lashemesh sam ayhel bahem, and in the heavens, Hashem made a home, a tent for the sun. So the sky is just doing its thing, and the sky is. We look at it, we're amazed. We're seeing the things that are in it. We're looking at the planets, looking at the various stars. We're just seeing this immense greatness of Hashem, the obvious greatness of Hashem. And there in it, we see one of the greatest things, the sun. Why is the sun such a big, great wonder to us? So Chazal says the greatness of the sun is that it stays in its right place. Imagine if the sun moved a little bit forward or a little bit backwards. So if it moved a tiny drop forward, we would be burnt to smithereens. And if it moved a little drop backwards, we would freeze to nothing. Right? So one of the greatnesses of the sun is that it's obvious to us every single day that Hashem keeps it exactly in its correct place. I remember, and I've said this before in a shir. I was trying to remember in which parak, but I was listening on the radio, and they were talking about this planet that was hurtling towards Australia, and they said that if it keeps on its path, it will be fine. We'll just miss Australia by however many thousand kilometers, but we'll be okay. But if it moves, okay, a little bit goes off its path, then Australia will be destroyed in a few seconds. And I was thinking, it won't go off its path. Okay, Hashem sent it in that path. Just because there's some astronomers or people, space, wondering if why don't they wonder every day if the sun is going to go off its path? If Hashem put it on this specific path, this is the path it's going to take. It's not going to move a little bit to the left or to the right. Just like the sun stays in its place every single day. We also are told that whenever it says sun in Torah writings, it's talking about a tzaddik. And this pasuk is hinting to us that in every generation, Hashem puts a tzaddik in the world, and that tzaddik who's in the world keeps, just like the sun, gives the world light, gives the world the heat and the coldness that it needs. So there have to be tzaddikim, there has to be, and particularly a tzaddik Yesod Olam, who keeps the world running, who keeps the world going. It says that Antoninus asked Rabbi Yehuda for a bracha. He said, give me the best bracha you could think of. And Rabbi Yehuda said to him, I bless you, that you shouldn't be troubled by the freezing cold. And Antoninus said to Rabbi Yehuda, that's a silly blessing. It's not the best blessing you could get, because if you're freezing cold, you can do something about it. You can put on a jersey, you can put on a coat, you can put on a fire. That's not a good blessing. I want something greater. So Rabbi Yehuda thought for a few minutes, and he said, I bless you that you should be saved from the scorching sun. And Antoninus said, that's a real blessing, because no human being has power over the sun. There's nothing we can do. You can put on an air conditioner, but Eskom can turn off the electricity. You can, you can put on suntan lotion, but it drips off. There's nothing we can do about the sun. The sun is all powerful against us, which is why in the world of Avodah Zarah, the sun was so often the Avodah Zarah. Continues. The sun comes out like a chassan coming out of his room. And he's as happy as a gibor, a champion who's about to run to run a race, and explains the sun rises at one end of the heavens, and its course takes it to another. So nothing is hidden from its heat. So this is the greatness of the sky, the greatness of particularly the sun, and this is the first way, says David HaMelech, that if you want to see greatness of Hashem, if you want to be affected by greatness of Hashem, then look to nature, and particularly to the sky, and this is how you're going to connect with Hashem. Then David HaMelech now changes, and he starts talking about Torah, because getting to Hashem, connecting with Hashem through nature is great, and it's our first step, and it's what we've got to do. But greater than connecting to Hashem through nature is connecting to Hashem through Torah, and that's what he's going to say in the next few lines. So if you have a look at Psukim Ches and Tes, you'll see that there are 6 different expressions of the greatness of Torah, and each of those expressions have got 5 words. So if you see, the first expression is Torah Hashem Temima, the teaching, the Torah of Hashem is perfect, Meshivas Nafesh, it restores the soul. That's the first one. Then it says Eidus Hashem. Then after that it says Pekudei Hashem. Then it says Mitzvahs Hashem. Then it says, in the next pasuk as well, Yiras Hashem and Mishpatei Hashem. So 6 different expressions of the greatness of Torah and what it does for us. And each expression is 5 words. Chazal tell us that the 6 expressions allude to the 6 books of the Mishnah, and the 5 words in each allude to the 5 books of the Torah, and you should know that through study of the 5 books of the Torah and the 6 books of the Mishnah, you can come to a very good, strong relationship with Hashem. So we're not going to look at every single one in huge detail, but take one or two things from each of these expressions. So Teres Hashem Tamima, the teachings of Hashem are perfect. Meshivas Nafesh, it restores one's soul. So you know that the Torah has in it a whole lot of letters, and we always say that the letters in the Torah they represent every Jew. The letters, the nakudas, the musical signs represents the neshama of a Jew. And you also know that if the Torah has even one letter wrong in it, it's not a kosher Torah. And so what's David HaMelech telling us when he says, what's the lesson he's giving us when he says, Torah's Hashem Tamima, Hashem's Torah is perfect, means that every single Jew is perfect. And that's a huge statement, because sitting here, probably, we all saying right away, I know a Jew who isn't. Okay, possibly I know someone who isn't perfect. And David HaMelech says that we have to assume that every single Jew is perfect, because if each Jew represents a letter or part of the Sefer Torah, in order for our Torah to be perfect, as it says, then every Jew has to be perfect. How can we have all perfect Jews? That's if we don't look out for their faults. And so the first lesson of connecting to other Yidden and then to Hashem is not by not looking for their faults. Look just at their perfections, just look at their good. The other lesson that we learn from this expression, the teachings of Hashem are perfect, is that there's not one part of the Torah that's more important than another part of the Torah. And so Chazal tell us that the pasuk that says, and Timnah was his concubine, is as important as the pasuk that says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We cannot decide which pasuk in the Torah, which part of the Torah, which portion of the Torah is more important than any other portion. I remember that when I first started teaching many years ago, I was teaching Mishlei, and I said, some of the psukim in Mishlei are so interesting, and some are a little boring. Right? And some make so much sense to me, and some make less sense to me. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip around. And what did I have the cheek to do? I went and took a Mishlei, and I made a page with just the psukim that I wanted to teach my class. A revised Mishlei. Okay. And I taught, and I was very happy with the Mishlei teaching. And then the following year, I was looking at this paper and thinking about printing it, and I suddenly realized, I said, Rivki Chaikin, you have a cheek. You have such a big chutzpah. Shlomo HaMelech wrote Mishlei, and you edited it. Okay, you decided which are the important ones, the important psukim, and which are not. And this is what David HaMelech is saying over here. He's saying, Torah's Hashem Tamima, the whole entire Torah is perfect. You might like some parts better. You might not like some parts. You might understand some parts. Each of us have our own neshama with its own things that pull us to that part. We each have mitzvahs that we like better than other mitzvahs. We have learnings that appeal to us more than other learnings. But every single part is perfect. We have to know that. There's an interesting custom that people have. Some people have the custom to stand whenever the Torah is being read. And the reason they have this custom is because every now and again there's parts of Torah where we're obligated to stand. So, for example, when the Ten Commandments are read, we stand, right, in shul, and they bang on the bimah and everybody stands up. Or when they read the last few words before chazak, they bang on the bimah and everyone stands up. And so there are many people who have the custom to stand whenever the Torah is being read, so that there should be no differentiation. It's not that I think that these parts of the Torah are more important than other parts of the Torah. I think that all of Torah is important, and therefore they stand the whole time. On the next little phrase, Eidus Hashem Ne'emana, that the Eidus of Hashem, the testimony of Hashem, the practices of Hashem, this is what gives us emunah, gives us faith. So there are a few things which are called, they have the title of Eidus, of testimony, and these are just for information's sake, the Mishkan was called Mishkan Ha'edus, the Aaron was called Aaron Ha'edus. Both Shabbos and Shemitah are mitzvahs that are called Edim, that they are signs, they are testimony to the fact that we believe in Hashem. And what does it do for us when we keep mitzvahs or we get ourselves involved with things that are Edus, that are testimony to Hashem's greatness? Machkimas Pesi, it makes the wise, it makes the pesi, the stupid people, ignorant, but ignorant by choice is pesi, that makes them clever. And what is the cleverness that we get? Says Chazal that the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. And as soon as a person can say, I realize how little I know, such a person is becoming cleverer. He's no longer a pesi, he's no longer a fool who thinks he knows so much, but he's now machkimas pesi, he's getting cleverer. So even though he still knows very little, he is not stupid anymore. Continues and says, Pekudei Hashem, Yesharim, that Hashem's mitzvahs are Yashar, Mesamchei Leiv, and they make us happy. So I'm sure also that everyone here is sitting and thinking, well, there's some mitzvahs that make me happy, and there's some mitzvahs that don't make me so happy. And this is the instruction from David HaMelech, that a person has to work on himself, that even the mitzvahs that don't make us happy should make us happy. This is a lifelong work, right? Because everybody has some things which they make them happy and some things which definitely don't. But Rabbi Hanina says that a person who is able to do mitzvahs with joy, such a person will have no worries. So we're trying for that. Mitzvahs Hashem bara, the commandments of Hashem, were created, Me'iras Anayim, they bring light to the eyes. Just as an interesting thing, you probably all know the custom that when we put out the Havdalah candle on Motzei Shabbos, we take some bit of wine and we put it in the corners of our eyes. This custom comes from this pasuk, that the mitzvahs of Hashem open our eyes, bring light to our eyes. Yiras Hashem Tahira, that the fear of Hashem is pure, Omedes La'ad, and it stands forever. So this is awe of Hashem is eternal, right? It's absolutely eternal. And a lot of Chazal discuss at great length over here why Yiras Hashem, why having awe of Hashem is so important and so great. Mishpatei Hashem Emes Tzadku Yachtov, and Hashem's laws are true and completely just. This is such an interesting line. Mishpatei Hashem Emes Tzadku Yachtov. Only Hashem can do laws, can make mishpat, justice, that everybody gets or fairly from it. So what I'm trying to say is, when a human being gives a punishment or a law, not only the person who did it and deserves that punishment to happen is affected, everybody else around is also affected. So for whatever reason, I remember clearly when we were living in Cape Town where this example came to mind. There was a policeman who he heard that his daughter was raped, and he went into, and he also heard that the perpetrator was in that police station. So he went downstairs, and at point blank range, he shot the perpetrator, the alleged rapist. And then the policeman was obviously arrested and put in prison and got a long life sentence or whatever. And I remember that there were petitions at every single shop that you went into, because people were saying that he wasn't a dangerous man. Any father would do that. Okay, it's like whatever. And what happened in the meantime? His family didn't have their father at home. They didn't have any parnasa. The whole family was suffering because of the punishment that had been meted out to the policeman. And the judge kept on saying, but you can't go around shooting, which is true, right? You can't just shoot whoever you want. So when a human being meets out punishment, he affects much more people than the person who did whatever he did wrong. That's just how it is. Even, let's say, something much sillier. You have one child in your family who is celiac, can't eat gluten or whatever. The whole family suffers, right? Because now everybody's not getting bread and cakes and whatever, so that child shouldn't be jealous. or everyone is, and that child is going to be upset and possibly sick. So we humans can't separate the things that we do and the choices we make. We can't separate. We can only decide what's the best way for me to go about this. But here comes along David HaMelech, and he says, Mishpatei Hashem emes, the judgments of Hashem are absolute emes, truth. Tzadku yachtov. Hashem is able to judge righteously, that everybody, however they are affected by whatever happens, that's what they were supposed to get. That's what was coming to them, and only Hashem can do this. I'm going to skip to the very last pasuk. It says in the very last pasuk ends off by saying, Yihiu l'ratzon imrefi. This is a pasuk that we all recognize mostly from the end of the Amidah. Please accept the words of my mouth, v'hegyon libi, and the intentions, the feelings of my heart. Lefanecha Hashem, before you Hashem, suri v'goyali, my rock and my redeemer. And these first two lines are very, very powerful in understanding them. The first thing is that we don't know what's good for us and what's not good for us. So sometimes we daven for things, we beg Hashem for things, and it's not necessarily good for us. They always like to joke, like, be careful what you ask for because you might get it. It's a serious joke, right? It's not. Sometimes when we get what we ask for, it's not really what we want anymore. So what we do when we ask Hashem for anything is we say, Yihiu l'ratzon imrefi. May that which we are asking you for be your ratzon, your desire, Hashem. Because if Hashem desires it, then it will be good for us, right? So don't give it to me just because me, Ruchi Chaikin, is asking for this, but give it to me because you, Hashem, want me to have it. That's the first level of understanding this little saying. But what I find even more powerful are the words Imre fi, the words of my mouth, v'hegyon libi, and the feelings of my heart. So again, at pshat level, at simple level, it could be that we daven the whole Shemona Esrei, which is full of all different requests that we want from Hashem. But while we were busy davening, we were mouthing all the words, we were saying everything correctly, but we were also thinking about that right after davening, it's my chance to set up the bracha. Also, I have got people coming for lunch. Also, I have this. We have a whole lot of other things, and that's what we did during Shemona Esrei. So we were saying the words, but our heart was not, like, we didn't really mean it. So there we have a little help over there. We say, please Hashem, take note of Imre Fi, all the words that were coming out of my mouth, even if it wasn't all coming out of my heart as well. But even deeper than this, and this is the part that I found so incredibly powerful, we are often, we know that we want something big from Hashem, but we are not big enough to be able, we're almost overwhelmed by what we want from Hashem. And when we try and express to Hashem what it is that we want, we can't actually express it. So many times, even in smaller things, sometimes you want to tell your spouse how you feel about them, or your child how you feel about them, and you try even writing it, and when you look at the words, it hasn't come out as big as what you wanted to say. And another human being can't understand it, right? The only thing they can see is what you said or what you wrote. Hashem, we ask him, take into consideration Imre Fi, what I managed to say, what actually I expressed, but even more than that, we ask Hashem, v'hegyon libi. Even those things that are still in my heart, that I didn't manage to say them, to voice them, to put them into words, you, Hashem, you know what they are, and you can take them, and you can use them. You can answer me on those things as well. And that's how David HaMelech finishes this kapitel of Tehillim, which is where we go up to today. Hashem should listen to all the words of our mouths and the intentions of our heart, and answer us l'tova, for good. And I wish everybody a good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rivki. Shabbos, everybody.
Thank you, Rivki. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rivki.